Hi guys, your buddy Rorschach here. Right, I want to talk about an article from Bleeding Fool, not Bleeding Cool. The Bleeding Fool is the red-pilled version of Bleeding Cool. The article is titled Why China Hates Disney Star Wars. And for hate, you could just see rejecting it at the box office. If you look at, and I'll leave a link to the article down below. If you look at the opening weekend box office for the last Star Wars movie, Soy Wars, a Solo story, it only got 10 million in China. And The Force Awakens opened with 52, but it's crashing. It's really crashing at the box office. Is Star Wars, you know, in China. And you think what's going on in the West is bad, and the Chinese market is, you know, really bottoming out. And the article, right, gives two reasons for this. The first reason is a reason that I hadn't thought about before. It's to do with a 3-act storytelling structure that Hollywood uses, as opposed to the traditional 2-act structure which you get in, you know, traditional Chinese storytelling. I didn't study Chinese filmmaking at university. I did Russian films and French films, but I didn't do Chinese films, and this isn't something that I was aware of before, the 2-act structure of Chinese storytelling. So interesting stuff there. But the one point that I'm particularly interested in is the point which relates to #Comicsgate, and that's to do with the weird gender politics that they have in these stories. I'll just read out one of the key lines in this article. Here we go. Sorry, just be a second. Right. And no one in any Mouse Wars installment has anything resembling a traditional relationship with a member of the opposite sex. Finn is first rejected, then friend-zoned by Rey. The female lead of Rogue One, whose name I can't be bothered to remember, so I'll call her Rey 2, has a series of broken relationships with a succession of father figures. Finn returns in The Last Jedi to be continually browbeaten and whipped by Rose. Han showers with a space Sasquatch, and Lando is banging a feminist robot. So weird, degenerate relationship dynamics going on in the Star Wars franchise, which obviously the high IQ Chinese market looks at and thinks, what on earth is going on here? This is weird. And they can sense on it in an intrinsic level, almost a biological level, that this is dangerous, poisonous stuff which we want no part of. Now, why is it dangerous? Why is it poisonous? Because in emasculating the men and making the females badass, uber masculine characters who don't need no man, this is going against the boy, you know, meets girl, let's get together, let's get married, let's have children, necessity that a civilization needs to continue civilization at all. If the boy doesn't meet the girl, if they don't settle down, get married and have children, there is no future for anyone. If the girls are acting like men and running around with a stick and beating up all the stormtroopers and doing everything better than the male characters, flying the Millennium Falcon, easily beating a Jedi Master the first time you've ever picked up a lightsaber, if they're doing all this, if they don't need men, they're not going to get married, they're not going to have children. If they don't get married, don't have children, there is no future for your civilization. The Chinese market looks at this and thinks, this is dangerous. Telling the females that they should be like this is going to have large negative impacts on our culture as a whole. So why is Disney doing this? I would suggest, and this is just my opinion, that it plays into a large goal of depopulation, but only for indigenous white people in white Western countries at the moment. This is all aimed at white females and white boys, trying to emasculate the boys. They don't want the white girls to breed with white men. That's the bottom line here. Why don't Disney want white girls to be breeding, to be having children? Because that's a threat to the modern progressive leftist matriarchal welfare state. if the young girls get married at a young age and have husbands and children. The husbands will take the role of provider and protector, which the modern matriarchal welfare state is now fulfilling for these young girls. So this is to do with politics, it's to do with power. You need to convince the young white girls not to have children, and then, and this is very, very evil, very satanic, they'll say, well, the indigenous populations aren't having enough children, we need to open the borders and invite in different people from all over the world, not white South Africans, who will then sit on the matriarchal welfare state and continue to support the progressives in their positions of political power, which they now currently occupy. Not in America, thankfully, with Donald Trump. So this is all a political war. It's about convincing the young white girls that you want to be empowered, don't you? You want to be just like Ray, and Ray don't need no man. Ray's not going to be a mommy. Ray's not going to be having any children. Be like Ray, don't be like Princess Leia. That's what it's all about. The Chinese people can sense this, and let's just say because of their high IQ, they can see a poisonous agenda when it's served up to them on a plate, when it's as obvious as this. So that's one of the main reasons then why Star Wars is bombing at the Chinese market. I know they don't have a tradition of watching Star Wars, so that plays into it as well, but I don't think that this kind of low IQ emasculation and empowerment of females is going to work on a traditional high IQ society who values strong, independent, masculine characters, and sees the worth in romance, in that romance is not just about short-term sexual gratification, but it's about the continuance of civilization as a whole, and people having families and having children, as opposed to running around with a stick beating up stormtroopers and being better than the men at masculine pursuits. So that's my opinion on why Star Wars is bombing at China, because they're too smart for the propaganda, I think. But the article, which I'll link down below, I'll leave a link to down below, it's definitely something that you should check out. It's very well written. There's some points here which I had not thought about before, and this is the kind of article that we should be supporting, and this is the website that we should be supporting. So don't go to Bleeding Cool, go to Bleeding Fool, the red-pilled version of a dying blue-pilled government, corporate, leftist supporting dinosaur. A moribund dinosaur is Bleeding Cool. They're just going to continue to play lapdog to the agenda being pushed by Disney. So why would you want to get your comic book, geek related, Star Wars related information from somebody like that, from somebody as cowardly and cucked and degenerate and just pandering as that? Bleeding Fool doesn't pander. Bleeding Fool will tell you what they genuinely think about what's going on here, and I applaud them for doing so. This is the future. Bleeding Cool is the past. That's all I've got to say then for the time being. I'm going to start looking at Bleeding Fool a little bit more, and I'm going to start doing some commentary on their articles, I think, because basically I just want to support the good guys. I want to support people going away from the regressive plantation, and that's exactly what Bleeding Fool is doing. So nice one, guys. I appreciate what you're doing. That's all I've got to say for the video then. Please let me know what you think about Star Wars bombing in China. Do you think it's to do with the 3-act story structure? Do you think it's to do with them not having a tradition of watching Star Wars movies? Or do you, like me, suspect that it's largely because the weird gender politics going on in the movie that the high IQ Chinese population can see as being genuinely dangerous and not something that they want any part of whatsoever? So cheers, thanks for watching the video, take care everyone, and I'll be back as always later. See you guys.